he was like, okay, well, has he made it to the morgue yet? And I guess the person on the other end said no. And so he's like, okay, good. Well, how much does he weigh? And he said, 300 pounds, and he was just saying.
Welcome to Talkin Texas Real Estate. Today, our guests are Hilary Wesley with RockOne Realty and Allison Link with Goosehead Insurance. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today. How are y'all?
Good.
We're good. I'm awake. That's a good thing.
That's
We're
awesome.
here.
It is early. It is early. All right, so I guess we're going to jump right in. Allison, we're going to jump in with all things insurance related. How's that going? How's the market? What's it looking like?
It's going good. The market seems to be slowing down from the busy months of March and April. So I feel like the real estate market has kind of hit a plateau and insurance kind of follows suit. The insurance rates, though, they've kind of steadied out a little bit. They were taking big increases because of all the storms and things that we've had, but they've kind of steadied a little bit. So it's been good.
You've been busy with the hailstorms and stuff that just happened?
I actually haven't. Knock on wood. My claims have been kind of quiet, but I have a bigger Amarillo market than I do Canyon market, and those were Canyons where most of those hit. So I haven't had too many claims, thankfully.
Right. Hilary, how's real estate going?
It's going great. I when this year started, it was as if people, I don't know, had a new vision for 2025. And they're like, oh, I'm going to go out and shop for houses. So February, March, April, May, I was running. I felt like I was meeting myself coming and going. It has steadied, like Allison has mentioned. We've reached more of just kind of a plateau where I recently read something that as far as our listings, we have way more listings than we do buyers currently. So, that has slowed me down because I primarily help buyers. But that's given me time to breathe and really hone in on my clients that I currently have. So it's still great.
Yeah, that's good. So you're seeing more listings than buyers right now, which is across the board, I guess.
Well, I think statistically, we have more listings than what we've seen since 2013. Sorry, let me get my numbers right. This is the highest amount of listings we've seen.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So we've had a couple of things come up as of late with some insurance things. And Hilary, I don't know if you've seen this as well, but like in some of the older homes, like wall heaters, for example, do wall heaters automatically disqualify people from getting insurance?
No, absolutely not. So just like when you're getting a loan for a house, it has to go through the underwriting process, right? And they look at all the factors of somebody trying to get approval, like what's their income, what's their debt, and things like that. So from the insurance standpoint, you look at the house and you look at those things too. So what's the roof like? What's their heating source? Is it a wall heater? And so some carriers, each carrier gets to pick what they want to accept and what they don't want to accept. And so there are fewer carriers that do accept those just because they are higher risk for fire and things like that. But we definitely have carriers that still accept those just because there are those older homes that still have them. And a lot of those older homes still have them, but they don't function and they're not in use,
Right.
So a lot of the time they just leave them instead of replacing them. So no, it's not an absolute denial if you have a wall furnace. There's several carriers that still take those.
Is it the same like with the floor furnaces too? Like you'll see, some of the older homes that have the floor furnace, same difference.
Right. Being with Goosehead, we have several carriers. And so as a good agent does, they go through all their underwriting guidelines and looks and sees if they will accept those and what carriers will accept those and what carriers won't. And so it's nice to be with a broker who can shop all those carriers. And instead of just being with one carrier that says, oh, we don't take them, sorry, go somewhere else.
Right.
So we have options.
And that's good. I guess the same thing would be like with, some of the homes that were built in the 50s, they have like the square asbestos tiles, but it's been painted probably 20 times over the course of the house or whatever. So do you have carriers that will write for that type of exterior?
Off the top of my head, I think we probably have one that will take the asbestos. Insurance companies have 90 days to come out and inspect the home. And if they find something they don't like, then, they can write you a denial letter and say, hey, you've got 90 days to find a new insurance company. I just actually had one last week. I asked the lady in our underwriting questions do you have a trampoline? Not that it's a denial either, but some companies just will exclude liability if somebody's injured on the trampoline. And so she said no. And so it's like, cool. So they go out and do the inspection and they write a denial letter. And I look online and it's a little Tykes trampoline. I mean, probably the size of this table in their front yard, netted and everything. And the company's like, oh, well, you said you didn't have a trampoline, so we're coming off of it. And so,
Wow.
I mean, it was a simple fix. She just had to sign a paper that said, if somebody gets hurt on it, I won't file a liability claim. And they accepted her. But something as simple as a little Tykes trampoline, if they don't want trampolines, they can come off of it.
Wow. Okay, so I didn't know that.
Yeah. Pit bulls, there's companies that will not accept a pit bull because they're labeled aggressive. You know, it's the insurance company. They get to choose what risk they accept and what risk they don't. So we
Makes
just
sense.
play by their rules.
Makes sense. Hilary, have you ever come across anything like that with insurance or wall heaters, old houses, anything like that?
I have not, but I want to follow up with Allison because would an umbrella policy supersede that in those situations?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the type of umbrella policy, but it has to be, I think it has to be covered by your homeowner's policy first, and then the umbrella kicks in and covers what liability the home doesn't. So that's a good question. I'm not really sure the answer of that one.
Okay.
If our listeners don't know what an umbrella policy is, will you throw that out there for them?
Sure. So when you think of an umbrella, you know, it protects you from the rain, right? So an umbrella policy sits on top of your other liabilities that you have. So like your home, typically it sits on top of an auto policy. So when you are in an accident or you you have a wreck or something, your liability policy on your auto, your liability pays out first. And then if it's not enough, your umbrella policy will come into play and cover what the auto policy did not cover. Those typically start at $1 million worth of coverage.
Okay. That's good. So switching gears just a little bit, whenever you were talking about the market and everything, we have more listings, not as many buyers. You primarily like to work with buyers, or you're more of a buyer's agent. What are you doing right now to try to gather some buyers in this market?
It really just comes down to, let's be real. The more people you contact,
Right.
it's a numbers game, right? So you're cycling through leads, phone calls, systems that put you in front of more and more buyers. And then setting yourself apart in the market. What do I bring to the table versus maybe what somebody else does? Connecting with that person with something that they feel, more of a connection with you. So it's a numbers game, always.
Exactly. That's good. It's a numbers game.
Yeah, it is.
We should do a training on that. It's a numbers game. I like that. It's good. What do you do? No, not what do you do, because I already kind of know the answer to this question, but you live on a farm, right?
I mean, in a roundabout way, yeah.
Right. But
Right.
you have like chickens and all that.
We have a horse or a pony. We have some pigs.
Now,
Two dogs.
something happened with the pig the other day.
Do we have to go there? So I was getting ready to come to team meeting on Wednesday morning. And, of course, everything happens when my husband leaves town. Because if he was home, it would have been fine, right? Nothing happens. So, I'm just making the roundabout of the house, just making sure everything's put in. He decided to put the pigs in the hot wire fence with the pony the weekend before he left town. Well, I go out there and I'm wearing my nice sandals and some white linen pants and getting ready to come to the office. And I drive around back and a pig is running across the field, not in the hot wire. And so I was like, oh gosh, here we go. And I had just curled my hair. I was ready to go. We've had some rain, so the humidity was just awful. But there I was at 7:30 in the morning chasing a pig in our pasture, trying to get him back in the hot wire. My sandals were covered in mud. My hair was flat and I was late to team meeting. And I called him and I said, do you know what just happened? And he was cackling. He was like, man, why didn't we have a camera out there to watch that? And of course, he just thought it was the funniest thing. Meanwhile, I was not happy with him at the moment. So
Right.
I did have to wrangle a pig back into the pasture last week.
Does the pig have a name?
They do, but I can't tell them apart. They're black pigs. They're sisters. So, they
Right.
have
So you're not like running through the pasture, like yelling a name of the pig, trying to get it
No.
back in like you would a dog or something like that.
She's stout, though. I had to put my full force of body weight behind her to get her back in that pen. And it turns out the hot wire was unplugged, and so she saw her way out, and she was gone. So,
How many chickens do you have?
well, we just bought 9 more, so we're up to 22. And then he came home with 11 quail the other day.
Okay.
So we've added quail to the farm.
So, stupid question, but quail eggs?
The quail eggs.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't eat them. I haven't. I mean, they taste just like a real egg, but they're tiny. They're like this big. So to equal one chicken egg, you have to eat like 4 or 5 to get the same amount of as chicken eggs. But
Right. So how many eggs do your chickens produce in a given day?
so the 12 that are already laying, we're getting a dozen a day. And then the 9 that we just purchased, they're not laying yet. So once they do, they should typically produce 1 a day.
So they got to get settled in, right? Is that what happens with chickens? They got to check out the surroundings.
Yes, and when they've got to be old enough too.
Okay.
So we all know that these are all hens, but they're just not of age to start laying yet. But it also goes off the time, like the sunlight. Did you know that?
I didn't.
So in the winter, they cut down on eggs because there's not enough daylight in the day. And so their body tells them to, basically they go dormant in the winter kind of, and they don't lay as many eggs.
Interesting. All right. So dogs, pigs, a horse, chickens, quail.
We used to have racing pigeons. We don't anymore though. So, I mean, I say farm in a roundabout way.
Racing pigeons?
Yeah.
Okay, I've never heard of racing pigeons.
So it's kind of a hobby that my husband's granddad was into, and they're called homing pigeons. But so you raise these pigeons at your home, and then you train them. So you let them out, and wherever they're born is where they will stay. And so you let them out slowly when they get old enough to fly, and they'll just circle around your house, and then they'll land and go in. And so when you start training them, I mean, there's a Amarillo Racing Pigeon Club now that my husband's a part of. But there's a lot of, you just train your birds, and you take them off, and you drop them 20 miles off, out whichever direction you're going to train them. And then they fly home. And just kind of like marathon runners, they have an ankle monitor or a bracelet, and when they fly into their coop, it shuts the time off. And so they race home.
So the fastest one home wins.
Yep.
Never in a million years did I know
It's pretty
that.
cool, but the problem with it is, so we moved just not too long ago, and the coop flew open when we were moving. We don't have them anymore because they all flew home. So if you buy a pigeon from a breeder, if you raise them at your house for a long enough time, then they become accustomed to that home. But if they're home somewhere else, anytime you release them, they'll fly home, and you can't ever catch them again. So the owner of our old house now has 25 pigeons that live at their house.
Wow.
That's funny.
So it's pretty cool, but he's working on getting that started up again
Okay.
in his free time.
In his free time. When he's not away and you're chasing pigs.
Exactly.
So,
Right.
got it. Hilary, what do you do in your spare time away from real estate, if there is such a thing?
I don't have.
You don't live on a farm, do you?
A little less.
Okay.
Yeah, not nearly as creative as Allison. So,
I just
Yeah,
get
I
roped
really-
into it.
yeah.
It's not by choice.
Well, I know, but it's fun. Keeps you young, right? So,
Right.
I don't know. For me, it's just kind of chilling at home, family. We do a lot of family events and hosting and cooking. So, it sounds pretty boring.
It sounds nice. It sounds relaxing.
It does sound nice.
In comparison with Allison, I don't have the pets. We do have one cat, and that's about it. So,
Right? So not having to chase a cat out in the pasture at 7:30 in the morning or anything like that. So, it's awesome. All right, so I guess last question for both of y'all, and it's my favorite question of the day, is what is the craziest thing that has ever happened to you in real estate and in insurance? Ready, go.
I don't know if it's a crazy thing, but I had a really fun event this last spring. So I was working with these buyers, and we had found a for sale by owner home, and that's always a unique situation because you're trying to help the seller sell the house, but you're representing your buyers, right? So it was a whole thing. Winter happens. This home is vacant. Winter happens, and he can't get the heater lit. And so I say to him very specifically, hey, we're going to hit winter. This heater's not working. It's an older home. I'm worried about these pipes. Oh, I'll send family member over there. So he sends family member over there. Can't get it lit. And he says to me, don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. I'm like, okay, sounds great. Well, within a week, pipes all through that house burst. Oh, no. And so we go back over to view the house, and I had surgery, so I had sent a teammate to open the house, and she said, Hilary, I opened the door, and I hear this water running, and I'm thinking there's a worker, and I'm shouting out, Realtor, Realtor, who's here? Like you do when you open the door. And she goes, I walk in, and it is a virtual flood. She calls me videos, and I'm like, oh, my word. Well, younger agent, and of course, I wouldn't have known what to do either, and I'm just like, somebody's got to turn off the water. Somebody's got to turn off the water. So clients come, and thankfully he's handy. He's running through the house, finds a shut-off behind the house, shuts the water off, thank goodness. Well, all of this took a great deal of extra time in the whole process of the transaction. And the homeowner is now dealing with insurance and all of these things. And we're just waiting. Well, it got to the point where now we're renegotiating sales price because of water damage. Okay. So my buyer, we finally hit on a sale price. I call him up and I said, okay, this is what he has offered. How do you feel about that? What do you want to reply? He goes, no, we'll take that. He goes, but I want to play a trick on my wife. I go, what? No, I don't play tricks. I'm pretty like, this is straightforward. And he goes, no, I want you to call her and tell her that we didn't get the house. I'm like, no, I can't do that. Like, this is terrible. Yeah. And again, this is now, we've been dealing with this for 3 months. They're so focused. They want the house regardless. They're going to do all this work. So he goes, no. He goes, I want you to call. So we made a plan. I called at 7 p.m. and I get her on the phone and I said, hey, we've worked really, really hard. We've negotiated. We've done everything we could. But the seller has decided to put his house on the market to see, even after the damage, if he can get a higher offer from, like an investor, et cetera. And she's like, what?
Oh,
like, really hard.
Yeah.
And I'm on the phone going, oh my word, I can't do this. And he has me on speaker. And because I'm like, well, is, your husband there? Mm-hmm. And she's like, yes. And she goes, but what does he want? Like, what? We'll do anything. And I'm on the phone going, oh my word, I can't do this. And so I said, I don't know. I said, I can go back and I can try to negotiate. And y'all, it's really hard for me to lie. Like, I just don't lie well. And so all of a sudden I just burst out. I'm like, I'm joking. I can't do this anymore. And I'm on speaker, and you can hear her punching her husband because I said he put me up to it. I said, I'm just joking. No, we've got this price. We're going to get this negotiated. We're going to sign contracts. But anyway, that wasn't really well, the whole water leak and all the whole thing was crazy, but it was so fun to work with them because through the whole process, they were so relaxed. They were fun. We had a really great time. I think that's what I love about real estate, building that relationship with those clients because you make friends with them for life. Mm-hmm. And if you do your job with following up and keeping in contact with them, that's where your future deals come from. So the whole process, working with them, it's taken 5 months. We finally got closed. I feel like they're going to be friends for life. So
yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, we often say real estate's not transactional; it's relational.
And it really is.
Mm-hmm. It can, 100% can be.
Yeah.
It just depends on how you want to do it. But I like that philosophy. And yes, you're right. Those people will never refer another realtor. They'll never use another realtor. So you've solidified that relationship, and that's good.
Well, and that's one thing I've struggled with moving into the insurance department. I was a teacher. I taught first grade for 4 years. So I got to build those relationships with those students, every single day. I was with them all day, every day, And so then moving to an office where I sit by myself and just am on the phone, every year I would get 22 new relationships to build with the kids and their families. And so I've kind of struggled with that because I don't get to build those relationships as well as I did being a teacher. But then you do meet those clients. Mm-hmm. It's great. Somebody posted about me the other day on Facebook, and one lady commented, she's like, she's been my agent for 4 years. I've never met her, but she's one of my favorite people ever. And I'm like, oh, thanks, and it makes you feel good that good. You've impacted somebody that much just off of a phone call a couple of times.
So what's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you in insurance?
I've only been in it for 4 years, I guess going on 5 in August, but so we write small commercial policies, and I was talking with an elderly gentleman. He's 93, and he has a business. I don't even know the name of the business, but he was talking about what he did, and he goes and picks up bodies, dead bodies. So I don't know if he is like a funeral home or, really what the scope of his work is. But I was sitting in the conference room having a conversation with him. And he gets a phone call on his flip phone, because,
Nice.
he can't have anything more than that because he doesn't know how to work it. But he has a phone nonetheless. And he said, hang on just a second. I got to take this. And so he picks up the phone and he's talking to somebody and he's like, okay, you got a body? Okay, well, where's he at? And of course, I don't know where he said he was, but he just mentioned, he was like, okay, well, has he made it to the morgue yet? And I guess the person on the other end said no. And so he's like, okay, good. Well, how much does he weigh? And he said, 300 pounds, and he was just taken aback. He was like, well, make sure he doesn't get in the box because there's no way I can lift that guy out of there. And so just right in the middle of our insurance conversation. And so he hangs up and he's like, sorry about that. Now, what were we talking about? And I was like, okay, all right. So yeah, anyways, insurance. So yeah. And so that was probably the craziest thing that's happened to me insurance wise, was just him taking that phone call right in the middle and talking about picking up a dead body.
Well, there you go. There you have it. Well, what a great way to end the show. Just talking about. Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I also know you're here in our office. Mm-hmm. So if people want to contact you, how do they get a hold of you?
So you can find me on Facebook or just give me a call or email me. We have a website as well. So you can go to Goosehead Insurance and search Allison Link, and you should be able to find my information, or it's on the RockOne Realty page as well. If you scroll to the bottom, there's a place where you can click on my name and run quotes.
Awesome. Highly recommend her. And Hilary, how do people get in contact with you? I know you're here at RockOne too, but how do people get in contact with you?
Yep. So obviously through the website, call RockOne, ask for me, right?
That's right.
But you can find me Google. You can just put Hilary Wesley, Realtor, RockOne. I'm on social medias, Instagram, Facebook, so lots of ways to find me.
Yes, ma'am. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for today.
Thanks
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you guys.